It's another episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. We finally get a chance to respond to a trade proposal that one of our sister shows put out on their shows last week. Plus, we take a look at another player and prospect, Michael Carcone, who came up from the American Hockey League Tucson Roadrunners over this season. All that on today's episode of Locked On Coyotes.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Robyn Leonio. That's Carl Pavlak. Right beside me on today's episode of Locked On Coyotes. I want to thank everyone for making this show your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. It is a big show for us. It's the end of the week, so it's exciting to be at the end of the week. But we got a lot to get to. We are breaking down a trade proposal from one of our sister shows, and we're talking Michael Carcone, while also trying to stay cool. We got excessive heat warnings all throughout this weekend, so my way of cooling down is a Coyotes Katrina beer.
Yeah, I got some wine. It's Friday. We gotta get done on Friday. Everybody's working for the weekend.
No. Oh no, Carl just went there.
Partying, yeah. Partying, yeah. Fun. Gonna talk about some prospects and some trade proposals.
Oh, absolutely. So let's get things started with this show then. So to preface you guys and for everybody, our sister show Locked On Leafs did a show dedicated to putting some possible trades out there with teams to kind of try to make their team better, and try to just go through a bunch of different prospects and whatever prospective trades and see all right, let's see what we can do. So when they landed on the Coyotes, they actually started with the Coyotes, and they talked about the potential to trade for defenseman Jakob Chyrchrun. And I'm going to go ahead and get ready to bring up the graphic here so we can all break it down together. Here it is. Here is their trade proposal. Once again, this was from the Locked On Leafs show on June 1st when it got released. Here's an interesting trade. It's a trade, again, they want Jakob Chyrchrun, and here's what they're willing to give us, Carl. They're willing to give us their 25th overall pick in this upcoming draft, a young defenseman in Rasmus Sandin, the goaltender Peter Mrazek, and an extra prospect or two they mentioned in the two that they mentioned as potentials on this list were Semyon Der, I don't even want to pronounce it, so SDA, and Roni Hirvonen.
Yep. We know that from the season itself, Bill Armstrong was apparently looking for a pick, a prospect, and a player. This seems to fit with that, more or less. First round pick, some players, some prospects. Not exactly the quality I think the Coyotes were looking for the return for any of the three, if I'm being completely honest.
I mean, I think this is a good start. A really
good
start. And I think based off of the from what I've been receiving, in terms of all Locked On shows who want Jakob Chyrchrun, the only reason why I'm sharing this one with everybody is this one actually is the one that at least has the most legs.
Yeah, definitely a good start. I will say that. It is fitting for what we are looking for the Coyotes. I do not think it's there, but it's a good opening negotiation. I just don't necessarily think the Coyotes benefit enough from this. the picks late. The players are not
I mean,
like
Sandin is a
difference
young
makers.
defenseman. He can I feel like Sandin can develop. I think that one could be a good throw in. Peter Mrazek is just there for the money. Really, it's just there to throw to kind of quote make the money work is what they said on their show.
Sure.
Because those two players combined equal Jakob Chyrchrun's contract. Because
Yeah.
again, because the Leafs are in a difficult cap situation. So while the Coyotes would be helping them out immensely by sending them Jakob Chyrchrun, it's like okay, well, um, we'll also do another thing and while we're giving you also 25th overall pick, a pretty decent young defenseman Rasmus Sandin and a prospect or two. Um, the only thing we ask in return, essentially, is like in addition, is that you take on Peter Mrazek's contract. I think it's a somewhat reasonable ask. It's just, and I think Peter Mrazek's contract is I think worth $3 million over the next 2 years left.
So I will say this: there's absolutely no reason the Coyotes need to be doing the Maple Leafs any favors. So yeah, if you need to make the money work, Toronto, you could pay to make the money worth. Like that's like a thing you could do. Like
If you want to,
you could throw in like a second round pick.
Well, they don't have any. That's the problem.
2 third-round picks, like
they
something.
don't have a
like,
third rounder either. I looked at their draft table. They have nothing.
Then more prospects, because like this is like it feels like the Coyotes are doing favors for the Toronto Maple Leafs with this deal.
So we made a joke about this, or they made a joke about this, and I want to reverse the joke on them, because they said that Bill Armstrong will probably ask for a Matthew Nice, and they're like, do you want my car keys, my house too? And we're like, yes, we do. We will,
yeah,
because like if you really want Jakob Chyrchrun, you'll pay for it.
Yeah, no. I just yesterday on Five for Howling, I wrote about Shane Gostisbehere, and I incorporated a lot about what we discussed in our episode. I linked to the episode, so you can definitely check it out if you haven't already. But the Coyotes got paid to take a Shane Gostisbehere contract. And you're telling me about this deal, but you're like, yeah, Mrazek needs to be thrown in there to make the money work. So you got to pay for that. Like the Coyotes need goaltending. Mrazek is not like the answer to anything. So throw in some prospects.
Let's also be fair though. With that, I know Mrazek didn't.
No, we do not need to be fair.
No.
We can bend him over the barrel.
Listen to what I'm saying here. Like Mrazek is definitely not a good goaltender, but he did not have a good year with the Maple Leafs. But he can, in some ways, be like one of those goaltenders or one of those players, that somehow turn things around with a change of scenery.
He played 20 games. He had a .888 save percentage, a 3.34 goals against average. He is 6'2", 188 pounds. So not the big goaltender that the Coyotes tend to go for. He is probably not going to benefit from the Coyote system. He is a cap dump in this to make the money work for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And if that needs to be done, I can appreciate that, but you got to sweeten that pot, baby. You got to throw in more. Like you can't just throw in a late first round pick, a okay defenseman. The Coyotes certainly need defensemen.
Yeah,
but they're going to be giving up. They're going to be giving up their best defenseman for like a potential couple years should be a good one. Like I like Sandin. Like I think he could potentially be a good defenseman, but he's not a Jakob Chyrchrun. He's not a blue chip prospect. And then a Mrazek contract just seems more like a wait. Like this seems like a good start for a Maple Leafs offer. You just got to throw in like a bunch more because it's
Again,
not
yeah, like
nearly enough.
I do think it's a good start, and I'm just putting all these topics out there as a form um of furthering the conversation. It's like, okay, I can understand why you want to add this, but there's definitely more to do. And actually, we can, wrap up this conversation actually in just a sec. But first, we do have to get a quick word out there. So Carl's got a quick word he does want to share.
So I have a message from our friends at BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting stats and sports information. You can find all the latest sports development, news, odds, including this year's basketball championship matchup, the NHL Hockey Conference Finals, Major League Baseball, and of course, the latest fighting news from MMA and UFC, right down to boxing if you're old school. Are you watching the Hockey Conference Finals? Did you watch the Tampa Bay New York game that happened just before we recorded this? Are you going to be betting on more Tampa Bay New York games? Because honestly, we're not going to talk about the numbers, but I kind of give New York or Tampa Bay the edge there. But definitely feel free to check out more sources on that. And one of the best sources is BetOnline, is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and more. Head over to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts.
So we have an important favor to ask you guys. We put together a survey so we can learn more about the listeners like you and make your favorite Locked On podcast even better. This is your opportunity to tell us what you like and don't like about Locked On Podcasts. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey right now to get started. It won't take very long, and everybody that completes the survey can qualify for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Ticketmaster gift cards. But take our audience survey, go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey. Once again, lockedonpodcast.com/survey. Thanks everybody for your help. But anyways, back to this trade proposal, Carl. Like we said, it's a good start. And to be honest, I think there is like a deal to be made here. Like I think you can make a deal here with the Maple Leafs if they really want Chyrchrun. And I think it does start with the proposal that the Leafs podcast sent us, right? It has, I think, a skeleton of what we're looking for. As we mentioned. I'm looking up on a website on NHLrumors.com, and Roni Hirvonen is listed as their number 6 prospect in the system.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
do we go better? Do you want to shake them for Matthew Knies?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. Like, if the Maple Leafs are in a situation where they're in, which they clearly are, like the Leafs, they just had a very embarrassing like getting bumped from the playoffs. They need to do something. No one really knows what that something is because they do have a phenomenal team that needs to get better in lots of ways. Like the Coyotes should absolutely take advantage of that. Like this is not one of those like, yeah, we'll do you a favor now, you do us a favor later. No, the Coyotes should absolutely rake the Maple Leafs over the coals. So like this is the starting point. They should just add a bunch after this. Like and honestly, like maybe some veterans, like just throw that in there too. Like if the Coyotes like they need like the blue line to be replenished. They need picks. They need like a lot. Like might as well make this like a big trade. It's Jakob Chyrchrun. He's your biggest piece. Go big or go home.
I mean, here's the only thing that I have to be consider to be cautious about is, because as of right now, Jakob Chyrchrun's good, but he's not elite. He's good, but not elite. And I think, but the potential there is elite, and with that, you can ask for a lot. I don't think that we can ask for much close to like um what Buffalo asked for with the trade for Jack Eichel, right?
Yeah.
We have to be careful about that because teams are not gonna. It's not just gonna like give up their like half their life savings, so to speak, for Jakob Chyrchrun, because he's good, but not that great right now.
True. I will also say this. I do not know what Bill Armstrong's relationship with Jakob Chyrchrun is. Like, there is a lot that has been read into like what he said that he wants out. I do not think that the team handled his situation the best way,
Mhm.
but Jack Eichel was not allowed to get surgery for a neck injury. Like, that is a just unbridgeable gap. Like,
Right.
that is something that I do not think the Coyotes are at that point with Jakob Chyrchrun. I
No.
hope to God they are not, because that is
No, I
just
don't think he's demanding a trade, although he does likely want out of Arizona, given the fact that based off his language, he wants to. He does. I don't think he has the endurance to run through a deep rebuilding team, because he wants to compete. He wants to go through his good years as a defenseman and his potentially really, really good years with a team that can compete.
yeah, but they already had the worst year of the rebuild. Like, next year is going to be bad, but
Yeah,
like
it's a tank for Bedard year. Like,
yeah, like it's going to be like one more bad year, but by the third year, like, the Coyotes are not going to be in tank mode. They're still going to be like not great, but like on the way up. Like, I don't understand the idea of like wanting out of the rebuild after one of
here's
the two super bad years.
here's the only thing, and why, though, like if it is gonna happen, it's gonna happen this off season, because this is his last year without a no trade clause.
Yeah.
So if he's gonna get moved, it's gonna be this off season. It's gonna be this draft, and like, yes, that 25th overall is a late first rounder. But let's be real. Like, if the Coyotes can get a fourth first round draft pick in here, like, that's leverage now with a lot of other people. Like, are they going to keep all four? Who knows?
Yeah, but it's like 4 in the 20s. Like, I know we talked about this earlier this week. It's a very deep draft. Like, anything beyond 6 is kind of a crapshoot, but still, like, I just don't see a 25th overall pick being like that flashy as a first round pick.
I mean, it could be, it could not be. Like, here's another thing that could happen. Let's think hypothetically here. Let's say, a top prospect who, on almost all board rankings was like supposed to be like 15, right? And then all of a sudden keeps dropping, keeps dropping, keeps dropping, and all of a sudden gets to the Leafs 25th pick, and this guy's still available. And you're like, whoa, what happened? Like, all of a sudden you're in a whole different situation. Like, because we're talking again, once again, because every GM has different draft boards, and like, if somehow a player that falls, and you view him as a different value, you're gonna get you're gonna get something out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just like I don't know,
And
like the
here's
Coyotes
another
have
thing.
the Carolina pick, like, and that's 27th overall, I believe. So,
That
like,
is 27th. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
here's another thing too. Another thing to keep in mind when it comes to using that 25th overall pick as an example. Um, when getting forward, again, you have three picks in um, the of the last seven picks of the draft, for the first round. Um, like, if you really think about it, like, at least one of those three, like, if like none of those three end up becoming like I wouldn't say superstar, but end up becoming like a a key player in the Coyotes, that's a failure.
yeah,
Like, and that's the thing, is like, if you add an extra one, you are adding more insurance on the potential of, you're just picking up prospects to see, like, and doing what you can. And the Coyotes, they they're able to do it because they're just like, all right, let's let these guys develop and see what happens.
Yeah, I get it. Like it's like again, like because we're running out of this segment. I think it's a strong starting offer. I think there needs to be some more negotiation because like everything is just kind of like, eh. It's an offer. Like the Coyotes need like a counter response, which we're not doing this live, so we can't do like. But I think like maybe like a better prospect thrown in there. Again, like I
I
would
mean,
kind of like to
again,
see a
they're giving.
veteran.
I mean, again, they're their prospect. They get like one of them is one of the top 10 prospects.
Yeah,
So
and well, that's an or prospect too. Like they weren't even sure for that. Like the main center points of the deal is, a pick that's late, a defenseman who could be good, and a goalie who's bad. Like just adding that goaltender contract, that bad deal, to me says you need to add more. Because if we're taking in contract, like I do not care if you need to make this work. You need to sweeten the pot in that instance.
that is fair. That is fair. But again, once again, I think that this trade is probably the closest that we got. And and it has the most legs, like I said. And honestly, I think with the skeleton there is a deal to be made. We can
Yep.
work things out with the Toronto Maple Leafs and Locked On Leafs, and if they want to, if they want to, if they're listening back to this and want to chime in, let us know. We can work something out. Obviously, we're not the GMs, but like we can figure something out still.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll just slip some notes to Bill Armstrong next time we see him. We'll be like, hey, make this deal.
But again, I like the starting point, and I think there is a deal to be made potentially here.
Yeah. It's not the worst trade I've seen. Like, not gonna lie, it's a really good starting point. I just think it needs more work.
Yeah, absolutely the best one that we've gotten. That's why I was able to spend 20 minutes talking about it because of that. Because all the other ones were just like they're not even worth it. They're not even worth talking about. But
Absolutely.
let's get going though. Let's move forward. Let's talk some prospects, or a prospect rather. We're going to talk about Michael Carcone, who was actually just signed to a Coyotes contract this last offseason after spending time with Tucson as a loaned member from the Milwaukee Admirals under the Nashville Predators system. And I like what I saw.
Yeah, me too. Definitely me too.
He was I think one of the most loved guys in Tucson to start off with, and he gets called up. Has a and has a good year. I think a lot of people love the memes that came up with him. Carcone.
Yeah, Carcone was a good one.
That was a great one.
Had a good year with the Roadrunners. 48 games, 24 goals, 17 assists, 41 points. Was a minus 11 if you're one of the people who cares about plus minus. Arizona Coyotes, 21 games played, 4 goals, 2 assists, 6 points, minus 8. So definitely played better in the AHL than the NHL, which to be expected. I mean, the AHL is definitely a lot easier to score than the NHL.
It is a different game. No, I mean,
Yeah.
We've talked about that, right? We talked about how different it is. But I think either way, though, like he took advantage of his opportunity getting called up, right? I think,
Yeah.
how injured the Coyotes were, it's just like, okay, let's try out Michael Carcone and see what happens. Because I don't think he was getting much of a opportunity with the Nashville system. So like he definitely got it here.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that he played well with the Coyotes. He was definitely a player I felt like was more of just like a injury call up more so than a player who like earned a spot. So still maybe needs a couple of years of work, but a good showing, like a good indication of what he could be. Like I do think like a lot of the Tucson Roadrunners guys are like, yeah, there's a lot of potential there. Like whether or not they can make it work as a full-time NHLer, that remains to be seen.
I mean, let's be real on this one. Michael Carcone is 26, 26 years old, and he's playing at the level he is now. He's not going to be a superstar. I don't think
No.
like he's going to be uh, you know, maybe a third line winger, most likely a fourth line winger. Like
Unfortunately, he has played too many games to be the next Michael Bunting. He is not going to be winning the Calder award next year.
oh, dang.
But yeah, like I don't know. There's definitely like a benefit to having a good third line player in your system. Like there are times when like I'm watching like draft coverage and people will like bring up a scenario where like would you rather take like 20% chance of being like a borderline superstar, 80% bust, or like a guaranteed third line player? And depending on what the pick is, I'm like, I'd maybe take that guaranteed third line player. Like teams win cups because of depth. Like if you
Right.
could have a good depth player, and I'm not sure if Carcone is that yet, but he could grow into it. Like he definitely has that kind of like, that spark, but definitely needs a bit more time. It'll be interesting to see what he can do like out of training camp. Like if he can make the team out of
Mhm.
training camp, that's a good sign. If he gets sent back to Tucson,
Honestly,
it
though, I
could be
think he
just
starts the
where,
year in Tucson.
yeah.
I think he starts
Well,
the next year in Tucson.
in that case, if he does, he needs to like make himself indispensable in the next call up because 26 is young. It's younger than I am, certainly, but not exactly a spring chicken.
Yeah, um, absolutely. I think that is, it's the mid late 20s. The mid to late 20s is where an NHL player should be reaching their prime, close to. So
Especially for a forward. Like
yes,
defenseman a little bit later, goaltenders a little bit later than that. Forwards like this year, next year should be his best years.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. And like we said, defensemen, you can, that can be up until like 28, 29.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
um, but overall, like I see Carcone as a potential piece, like I said, as that potential third, fourth liner down the road, um, for this team and for the Coyote squad. And I think I mean I like again maybe I'm a little bit biased as someone who has watched him play in Tucson, and I'm like I really like what this kid can do.
Yeah. I mean, if nothing else, Carcone is a player who has shown that he is willing to put in the work. Like we see that with a player who is loaned out by his team, like finding a spot with the team and getting a contract with them. Like that is like definitely like a work mentality. You don't get that kind of deal if you're lazy. It's just kind of like a matter of it's a little bit of luck. It's a little bit of being in the right place at the right time. Like knock on wood, it'll go well for him next year, but he's about to have a really big year. We're running late. What would you rate? Like rate him. Give him a letter
What would
grade.
I rate him? I'll give him a C plus.
Same. C plus seems good. Did good, but still want to see more.
Absolutely. And again, I mean, it makes sense, right? It makes sense because no, we didn't see enough from him, but mostly all happened in Tucson. And we know we know there's some potential, but we have a capped expectation. And the good thing for our expectations are still a little bit low. So
Yeah, we were talking about like a third line player. That's like not a world breaker.
yeah. Although I will say he is in a contract year coming up. So like if he can come out with a bang and really really prove himself, I hope this time next year I give him a much higher grade.
We definitely talked a lot about like opportunity like this past season. Like it was something like every single player had an opportunity. It's going to be the same next year. And
Mhm.
Carcone is probably like one of the players that I would say he's probably like the equivalent of a Kyle Capobianco in just terms of opportunity. Like he needs to prove himself this year. And it's kind of like balls in his court, like whatever he does, like that's what he does.
It is what happens. I'm excited for him though. I
Yeah.
think like I said, even though my expectations are low, I'm optimistic for him. I'm pretty optimistic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, maybe I might not get to see him in Tucson as often anymore, but that's might be for other reasons. um,
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like I'm sure he hopes he doesn't see you in Tucson much. Just because, yeah, I'm sure he'd rather be playing in Tempe.
Absolutely, absolutely. Anyways, though, we're just out of time of today's episode of Locked On Coyotes. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave a review, like, comment, subscribe if you have yet to already. We're everywhere you get your podcast, including on YouTube. Don't forget to interact with us on social media. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/Locked On Coyotes, on Instagram at Locked On Coyotes, and on Twitter at LO_Coyotes. I am personally at Robyn_Leano, ROBYN_LEANO. Carl Pavlock is Carl Pavlock FFH. Interact with us, ask a question you might have. We can answer them right back on a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. And as a heads up to all of you guys, once again, I do want to thank Tony Ferrari for coming on to our show yesterday for talking to some draft people. We're in talks of getting him on again sometime soon, as well as other draft experts to talk about drafts as we get once again go into the final month until NHL draft, plus other guests coming up all throughout this month. You will want to stay locked in to Locked On Coyotes. Once again, that's it for today's show. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. Hope you guys are staying healthy and also cool because it's getting hot out there. And don't forget to howl on.